You want to know the best wedding gift you could give us? The bride's smile was warm enough to fool a stranger, but not the woman she was looking at. She lifted her champagne glass and said, "Leave this family tonight." The words settled over the rehearsal dinner like ice. Conversation stopped. Forks hung motionless in the air. Every guest turned toward Eleanor, the groom's mother. Just hours earlier, she had been the first to arrive at the venue. She'd greeted the staff, fixed a seating mistake no one else noticed, and quietly covered one last unexpected expense because she wanted her son's wedding weekend to be perfect. Now she was being treated like she didn't belong. Slowly, Eleanor looked at Ethan. "Is that what you want, sweetheart?" The room held its breath. For a moment, Ethan's eyes filled with doubt. His fingers tightened around his glass as if he wanted to say something. Then he glanced at his fiancée. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said quietly. "Please, let's not make this any harder." For the briefest moment, Eleanor's lips trembled. She blinked once, fighting back the tears that threatened to betray her. Then she drew a slow, steady breath and lifted her chin, with the quiet grace that had carried her through far worse days. The bride slipped her arm around Ethan and smiled. "Thank you," she said. "It's time we started our own life without all the guilt and negativity." A few guests exchanged uneasy glances. No one spoke. No one defended. The woman who had spent months helping create the celebration, they were all enjoying. Eleanor gave a small nod. "I understand." She picked up her purse and walked toward the door. Just before stepping outside, she stopped. Without turning around, she said softly, "I hope that years from now, when you remember this night, you can still tell yourselves you made the right choice." The bride laughed. "Oh, we will." Eleanor closed her eyes for a single second. "I truly hope so." She opened the door and disappeared into the cold evening. Inside, music started playing again. Glasses clinked. Laughter returned. And not one person in that room realized that the choice they'd just celebrated would soon become the one decision they could never take back. The cold night air felt almost unreal. Eleanor closed the restaurant door behind her and stood perfectly still. The laughter inside continued as though she had never existed. Only then did the weight of the evening finally reach her. Her hand tightened around the strap of her purse. For just a moment, her shoulders sank. A single tear slipped down her cheek before she quietly brushed it away. "I tried, Richard," she whispered into the darkness. "I really tried." She looked back at the glowing windows one last time. Not a single person came after her. Not her son. Not a cousin. Not even an old family friend. 23 years of putting everyone else first. And she had walked away alone. After a long silence, Eleanor unlocked her car but never started the engine. Instead, she picked up her phone and tapped a name. She had hoped she would never have to call again. The line connected almost immediately. "Eleanor?" The familiar voice sounded surprised. "I'm sorry to call this late. You never apologized to me." "What's happened?" Eleanor closed her eyes. "They asked me to leave." Silence filled the line. Then came a quiet question. "Are you certain?" She opened her eyes again. For the first time that night, there wasn't a trace of heartbreak left in them. "I've never been more certain." Another pause. "What would you like me to do?" Eleanor looked through the windshield, her expression calm. "It's time. Nothing more. Nothing less." The person on the other end understood immediately. "I'll begin." The call ended. Eleanor rested the phone in her lap and took one slow breath. Inside the restaurant, glasses were still being raised in celebration. No one noticed that, miles away, the first move had already been made. And by the time anyone realized what had changed, there would be nothing left to stop it. The following morning, Madison couldn't stop smiling. "The rehearsal dinner was perfect," she said, scrolling through photos on her phone. "Honestly, once your mom left, the whole night felt lighter." A few bridesmaids laughed. Only Ethan stayed quiet. His breakfast sat untouched. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't forget the look in his mother's eyes as she walked away. "I think I should call her," he said quietly. Madison looked up. "For what?" He hesitated. "To apologize." She let out a small laugh. "Ethan? She'll be fine. She always turns herself into the victim. Don't let one dramatic exit ruin our wedding day." He wanted to believe her, but something about last night didn't feel right. Before he could reply, the wedding planner hurried into the room. Her face had gone completely pale. She wasn't carrying her clipboard. Madison. The smile disappeared from Madison's face. What happened? The planner swallowed. Our catering company has withdrawn from the wedding. The room fell silent. What? Madison asked, staring at her. They canceled everything early this morning. That's impossible. We have a signed contract. I know. Madison stood so quickly her chair scraped across the floor. Fine, we'll hire someone else. The planner didn't move. It's bigger than that. Madison's confidence began to crack. What do you mean? The catering company wasn't the only call I received. A heavy silence settled over the room. 2 more vendors have informed me they're withdrawing as well. Nobody spoke. For the first time all weekend, the wedding no longer felt untouchable. Ethan slowly looked toward the window, his mother's final words replaying in his mind. I hope that years from now, you can still tell yourselves you made the right choice. A chill ran through him. It wasn't because the catering had been canceled. It was because deep down, he was beginning to fear that his mother's quiet goodbye hadn't been surrender. It had been the beginning of something they still couldn't see. Madison grabbed her phone and stormed into the hallway. This is ridiculous. She tapped the catering company's number and put the call on speaker. The line connected almost immediately. This is Madison Carter. There has to be some mistake. We have a contract. I'm sorry, Ms. Carter, the manager replied calmly. There isn't a mistake. You can't just cancel 2 days before the wedding. We're not canceling without cause. Madison frowned. Then what cause? I'm afraid that's confidential. Her voice sharpened. Confidential? I need an answer. I'm only authorized to tell you that the individual responsible for the reservation instructed us to terminate the agreement effective immediately. Madison glanced toward Ethan. The individual responsible? Yes. What does that even mean? I booked this wedding. There was a brief pause. Our records indicate otherwise. The manager's voice remained polite. The reservation was opened under a different name. Madison's confidence began to slip. Whose name? I'm sorry, Ms. Carter, I can't disclose that information. The call ended. For several long seconds, no one spoke. The wedding planner looked down at her tablet. Another notification appeared. She stared at the screen. Then her face turned even paler. Ethan. He looked up. I just received another cancellation. His stomach tightened. From who? The florist? Madison snatched the tablet from her hands. No, she refreshed the email. It was real. Before she could process it, another notification appeared. Then another. The planner whispered, almost to herself. This can't be happening. Across the room, Ethan slowly lowered himself into a chair. He wasn't thinking about the flowers, or the food, or even the wedding. He was thinking about his mother. For the first time in his life, he realized how little he actually knew about the woman who had quietly stood behind every important moment of his life. And somewhere across town, Eleanor sat silently by a window watching the sunrise with a cup of untouched coffee. Her phone rested beside her. It hadn't stopped ringing for the last 20 minutes. She didn't answer a single call,